So stage 6 then is taking that laterality into directionality. Hey, Jimmy, would you go up 2 flights of stairs and turn to the right, go to the second door on the left and ask Mrs. Brown if she's coming to tea this afternoon with me? And come right back. And he goes to the door and he says, huh? Right? It's understanding directions and directionality. That's one example of more complex places. But it's that external expression of laterality that I have in my body. It's understanding to verbal commands about space, not necessarily having a motor model to go by, but just a verbal command. So now is the first time that I would even look at uneven writing on paper. I would be looking at spatial issues on paper, anything to do with paper, math columns, the way that the words are spaced out. And oftentimes I don't even have to worry about this level when it comes to writing, because if I've handled visual spatial very well earlier, this piece often gets together on its own, right? And there's many therapists that can attest to that. Skipping words during reading, visual motor skills. I don't touch it before we don't get here. And you would say, but Maude, that's going to take forever for us to get there. I say, yeah. Well, it's going to take the child forever to cover the cost of not having the direct pathway in the brain. So I better make sure I'm doing the job right. As much as we humanly know, and as much as we humanly can understand. And then stage 7 is about pre-academics. Now you're getting ready for a whole slew of other discussion. All of my executive functioning stuff, like having a goal, being able to plan my goal, sequence my goal, prioritize, to organize, to initiate stuff in a timely manner, to inhibit the distractions coming my way so I can plug down and get the essay done before I go to play. To pace myself through a test that I can get 30 questions done in the 10 minutes that's allowed, that I can shift my attention from something the teacher's saying over here while I'm busy over here, listen to her and then shift back right over here, that I'm able to have emotional control when I'm frustrated. Working memory, big piece for learning. And working memory actually is a developing skill, right, that you develop in the brain, but they use it to also quantify IQ. So that's an interesting thing. Processing speed as well. So processing speed and working memory are 2 developmental skills. So very frequently, families will say to me, Maude, you've raised my child's IQ. His IQ testing came back higher. I'm like, I wish I could, but I can't take that acclaim. I think we have our intelligence when we're born, but it's the way we test it, right? Is that those 2 skills, processing speed and working memory, are skills that you can change when you're working on the brain nervous system networks. So if you change that to a better level, then of course the IQ is going to look better, right? So I'm posing that as a postulate out there because I think we need a lot more discussion on that area in education as a whole. So physically, emotionally at this level, at this higher level, now you're putting more logic to emotions, right? My friend walks down the street and she's coming up towards me and I'm seeing her and I want to greet her and I say, hi, right? And she looks right through me, almost past me, and turns around and walks the other way. Okay. I have a couple of thoughts here. Maybe one is, what did I do? What on earth happened here? I mean, I just greeted her, right? So why didn't she greet back? Maybe I would figure out maybe I'm to blame. That could be one of my perceptions. Maybe I'm not to blame and I'm just like, okay, I'm just going to be mad at her because I think that she was completely rude right now, right? Or maybe I could think that she didn't even see me, that she was so in thought and that she thought about something and then just changed her course without even seeing me, right? So my perception and the logic I use in a social environment, in an academic environment, in a communicative environment, this is where we're developing that, is to put logic that we can predict a better outcome, that we can predict a more logical place of something happening rather than the assumptions to make at first face value. So my emotional problem solving, my self-regulation that comes with these everyday occurrences. My friend doesn't like me anymore, mommy. She doesn't want to play with me. She told me the other day that I stink. Mommy, do I stink? Right? So you want to work on what's the logic of that. And so you have this rich metaphoric playing world at previous stages where they're playing out, they're the pirates and they Captain Hook and they're gonna get you with a sword and I'm gonna kill you, right? And I'm going to do whatever it is that you're gonna do. And I can't tell you how many times I've been put in jail. Apparently I'm a very big criminal. I need to be put in jail quite often. I guess in jail it means that I can't bother them as much to interrupt their play. Right? But of course, that's going to become another interruption. Well, where's the jail? I need to, if I don't see a jail, I can't go to jail, right? Got to build it. Right? So this whole beautiful symbolic play starts making way for more realism in play. And this is when they start saying to me, Ms. Maude, it's only pretend. When I get a little bit too into the drama, right? It's only pretend. And that actually is an out for them because they don't want to work on the problem I just gave them, right? But it's a crucial, nice little phase that they go into because they need to get to this reality versus fantasy. So important for kids who've had trauma. So important. Because depending on the stage where their trauma took place, they may not have had the perspective to say or to necessarily feel that it wasn't them that deserved that trauma. That they're not living with a sense of shame and a sense of diminished self-worth because of what happened to them. That it's them, they are somehow to blame for having gone through that. But when you get to the stage of realism, you can apply more logic to say, I'm not owning that one. That's not me, right? So I know this feels to everyone like this is kind of, okay, now we're really going into the deeper places, but really you get to having this all in place by the age of 4. Not saying it's refined though. We keep refining that till ages 24 to 28 later, when our executive pathway, our DLPFC pathway is more firmly placed, right? But you are having that available to you already by the age of 4 in typical development. So language development here, by 3.5 years to 4 years, they can use can, may, might, will, would, could, conjunctions. And they can also begin to respond to the why because there's more logic now. Okay. And by 5 years, next, last, while we're doing this happened, before, after, but the full competency of that is not until about 10 to 12. So the 4-year-old's dilemma. What is real and what is fantasy? Influences everything. Influences academics, influences social, influences my emotional sense of self. What do I own and what don't I own? What can I take responsibility for and what can I not? Life's not fair. It's not fair that she gets that and I don't get that, right? I don't think there's a mom in the world that hasn't heard that if there was siblings involved, right? Yep. I guess it's not fair. It's a normal phase to go through, right? So yes, this concludes that early developmental stages that I use all the time in my work. And so when we evaluate from all those different vantage points, from the physical, motor, sensory, motor, the academic implications, the social implications, emotional implications. And yes, with our speech language pathologists also looking at the language implications. And then we find out where are the gaps? Where are the gaps and where did the pieces got stuck? And then we figure out, okay, if we can get to the most original point of entry of the problem, we start our intervention program there. My invitation to you is open. let me know what you want to know more about. I will come back to you. What part of development would you like for me to focus on for you? So until next time, take care.